Now the female reproductive system undergoes some changes at the so the female reproductive cycle or the menstrual cycle, it is of 28 days. On the start, the oocyte it starts to develop along with the follicle. Now the follicles are there, it develops with the oocyte, and inside the follicle we have our oocyte. Now why this follicle is developing? Because of the hormone, that is FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. So FSH जो है that is secreted at this time, and because of which the follicles are developing. Now as these follicles are developing, now these follicles also release an hormone that is called as estrogen. And because of the estrogen, the endometrial lining which is there, it starts to develop. That is in the uterus, the endometrium lining, it starts to develop. So now the follicle stimulating hormone, because of which the follicles, it is maturing itself. The oocyte is also there inside the follicle. Now, and these follicles are secreting the hormone that is called as the estrogen, because of which the endometrium lining is getting developed. Now on the 14th day, there is another hormone which takes place, and that hormone is luteinizing hormone. And because of the luteinizing hormone, because of its effect, this follicle, the matured follicle, it ruptures and the oocyte is released, and that is why this phase is called as the ovulation day, that is on the 14th day. So the oocyte is released now, and this follicle which was there, it gets converted into corpus luteum. So abhi tak ke we had two hormones, that is follicle stimulating hormone, estrogen was secreted by this, and the luteinizing hormone is secreted on the, because of which the follicles break. Now as this corpus luteum is formed, it starts to produce the hormone that is progesterone. And because of this progesterone hormone, the endometrium glands which are present, it starts to secrete the secretion, so that the secretion, and it is ready for the implantation. That is, as soon as this oocyte it reaches the uterus, it will implant itself for it. So that is why the progesterone is secreted from the corpus luteum. Under the effect of this progesterone, the endometrium lining secretes their secretion. So this is the phase through which the progesterone is secreted. Now, if the implantation takes place, then this corpus luteum will remain as it is, and the secretion of progesterone and the estrogen will be continuing. But if the corpus luteum, that is, if the implantation does not take place, then this corpus luteum which is there, it gets transformed into corpus albicus, and because of which the progesterone and the estrogen level decreases, and the endometrium lining which is there, it is also ruptured, and the oocyte which is there, along with the oocyte, the ruptured endometrium lining is then flown out through the vagina, and this is called as the menstruation or the menstrual cycle. So here we have the diagram which you all have in your textbook. So here is the changes which is occurring in the uterus during the menstrual phase, and these are the changes which happens in the ovary. So what is happening is, first the primary oocyte which is there and the follicles which are there, that is forming. And as the follicles are forming, it is forming because of the effect of FSH which is released. So because of FSH, these follicles are grown. Now here we have the fully grown follicle, and inside this we have our oocyte. And these follicles, here these follicles which are there, they are secreting estrogen. And because of the estrogen, what is happening in the uterus? The endometrium lining which is there, it is getting formed. Here you can see the lining is becoming thick and thick. So this is because of the effect of estrogen which is secreted by the follicles. So indirectly what is happening? FSH is inducing these follicles to form, to mature, and these follicles are secreting what? Estrogen. Next we have, that is on the ovulation day, LH which is there, that is released, and this matured follicle which we have, that is the grown follicle, it ruptures and the oocyte is released out. This is called as ovulation. Now why it happens? Because of the hormone, that is LH, that is luteinizing hormone. So now the oocyte is released. Now this, that is the ruptured follicle which is there, it gets converted into what? It gets converted into corpus luteum. Now this corpus luteum, it starts to produce what? Progesterone. Now as it starts to produce progesterone, these endometrium lining which are there, they start to secrete their secretion, so that they will know that now the oocyte will become and the implantation will take place and the zygote formation will occur and the further process will take place. So that is why they prepare themselves under the effect of progesterone and estrogen also. So now if the implantation takes place, then this thing will continue, the corpus luteum will continue to produce the progesterone. But if the implantation does not take place, then this corpus luteum gets converted to corpus albicus, and as corpus albicus is formed, the progesterone and estrogen level go down, and all this lining which was formed from 1st to the 26th, or you can say 27th or 28th day, so those linings are then ruptured and it is given out in the form that is called as the bleeding, and this is called as menstruation. It is very easy, you just have to remember that FSH जो है वो follicles को mature करता है, follicles gives estrogen, because of which the lining is maintained. LH, it ruptures the grown up follicle, and the ruptured is called as the corpus luteum. The oocyte is released, and the oocyte, then the corpus luteum which is there, it starts to secrete progesterone, because of which the endometrium, it prepares itself for the implantation. If implantation does not take place, for example this oocyte is not fertilized with the male gamete, then it is released out from through the uterus because of the formation of corpus albicus, because as corpus albicus is formed, the progesterone and estrogen level goes down, these walls cannot be maintained, and then it is given out, then the oocyte is given out through the endometrium, the ruptured endometrium linings. Reproduction and modern technology. Now many couples cannot have children due to various reasons. So in these cases, the modern technology is used. There are various methods in these modern technology. Now it may happen that women may have irregularity in their menstrual cycle, or difficulty in the oocyte production, or even sometimes there is obstacle in the ovida. In males, it might happen that the absence of sperms are there, or the low count of the sperm is there, the mortality of the sperm is not good, there is abnormality in the sperms. So in these cases, there are various modern technologies which we use these days. First is IVF, or we can also call it as in vitro fertilization. Now in this, the fertilization takes place in a test tube. Now here, what happens is, the embryo which is formed, it is then implanted into the woman's body. So what they do is, they collect the male gamete and the female gamete, they will form the zygote outside, that is in the test tube, the fertilization will occur in the test tube, and the embryo, when it is formed, it is then implanted into the uterus of the women, which is the mother. So in this case, that is by this method, the childless couples which are there, they can also get children. Another thing is, that is surrogacy. Now some women have problems in the implantation of the embryo in the uterus, that is there is problem in the uterus. So what they do is, they take the uterus of some other women. Some other women will be keeping the zygote, or you can say the embryo, inside the uterus. But the oocyte which is there and the sperm, that is both the male and female gametes, are taken from the parents. Only the uterus is taken from the other mother. So that embryo is then implanted into the female's body, and that female will be keeping the embryo for the developmental stages, and after 9 months, then the baby will be given to the real parents. So this is called as surrogacy, and in this the woman which is used, that is the other women, that is called as the surrogate mother. Next is the sperm bank or the semen bank. Now in this, the sperms are collected from the males who are physically and mentally fit, and it is stored in the sperm bank. Now, in some cases, if the sperms of the males are not productive, they are having some problems. So, due to the abnormalities or the movement of sperms or the absence of sperm in the semen, so at that time, the sperms are collected from the sperm bank. The donor's name is not given. Only the sperm is collected, and it is then injected into the women's body, or it can also be done through IVF. The embryo can be formed outside the body and it is then implanted into the female's body, but the sperms are taken from the sperm bank. So this is called as the sperm banks. Sometimes in rare cases, two embryos develop simultaneously in the same uterus, and thus two offsprings are delivered simultaneously, and these are called as twins. Now, many couples have twins. Now, there are two main types of twins, that is monozygotic and dizygotic. You will see that twins might appear to look similar and twins might also not look similar. So, these are two different types, that is monozygotic and dizygotic twins. So how monozygotic twins are formed? So the monozygotic twins are formed with the single embryo. So what happens is that during the early period, the embryonic development of these cells, and the embryo, it divides into two groups. This is called as the monozygotic twins, that is only one egg and one sperm is there, but while the embryo formation, they got split up and these two are formed, but these are identically similar. They have same genetical identity and also they share the same placenta. Next is dizygotic twins. Now these are, that is these are formed from two different ovum and two different sperms. So they will divide separately and they are also formed into the separate placenta. So separate formation, separate development takes place, and then these two twins are formed. So these are called as dizygotic twins. They are not genetically similar, and that is why they will even differ in their looks. So these are the two main types, that is monozygotic twins and dizygotic twins. Now, as our physical and mental health is important, in the same manner, our reproductive health is also very important. So, awareness should be created, especially in the young children, so that they can take care of their reproductive health. Especially in many customs and tradition, there is shyness because of, the parents are not much open to the children. So that is why the reproductive health is not given much uh, attention. So this is the reason why these type of topics are included in your syllabus, so that you know the importance of the reproductive health.